Everyone. I hope all of you are able to hear me. So we'll get started quickly, just waiting for maybe a couple of minutes more so that more students can join in, and then we'll start the session. I can already see a question from NG. Okay, NMAT retake yesterday, 17 didn't go well, scored 188. Please guide me how to get into JBMS through CMAT and CET. Sure, we'll talk about what's the path to get to JBMS through CMAT and CET as part of this session. We'll focus more on, of course, the test taking strategy because that is more important for the coming week. So that's where we'll be spending more time. Okay. Uh, all right, I think we can get started. Yes, we are live. Yeah, sure. Cool. So let's first start with the CMAT test breakup. So I'm sure all of you by now know what all sections are there, etc. And you have been taking mock tests. So if you look at CMAT as a test, and if you look at the sort of the history of CMAT, right? At some point of time when they started, innovation and entrepreneurship as a section didn't exist. They introduced it I think somewhere around 2019 or 2020, somewhere around that time, and they kept it as an optional section to begin with. And later they made it mandatory, so now it is part of the test, the entire test that is there. So you have 100 questions. Every question is plus 4. There's a minus 1, so negative marking is there for the incorrect questions that you get. So 20 questions in each of the sections. You have QADI as a single section, then you have LR, you have VARC, you have GK, and then you have the innovation and entrepreneurship section. Now there is no sectional cutoff, there is no sectional time limit. So you are free to jump between the sections. You can go from one question to another, you can go from one section to another. So all of that flexibility is there, and that is why it's considered to be a test on the easier side. Even if you look at the actual level of questions, the absolute difficulty of the question, you will see that it is not very, very difficult. At the same time, it's not going to be very, very easy because of certain things such as GK, for example, right? Where if you're good at GK, it's a very strong advantage for you. If you're not, you're going to struggle a little bit, wherein you will have to do very, very well on the remaining areas that are there. Generally, what you've seen is that people come out of the test and say that time was sufficient. I had enough time to do the paper, but there were some questions that I was not able to answer. Now, either that can happen because you don't know the underlying concept, you are not able to solve it, or you had no idea how to approach that particular question. In GK, for example, it would be because you don't know how to, let's say, or a particular thing, you don't know it, so you're not taking unnecessary risk. So time is not the constraint. The constraint is going to be whether your GK, your innovation entrepreneurship, those areas are in place or not. Because the aptitude, the core aptitude part of it is not very, very difficult. And if you solve it correctly, I think you'll be able to do most of the questions. One other thing about CMAT that you need to keep in mind is that it tends to have errors in the answer key. So after the test, they release the response sheet for slot 1 as well as slot 2. It is conducted in 2 slots. Invariably, they will have some or the other issue in the either in the question or in the answer key. Okay? Now, if at all that happens, we will always challenge it, etc. at the end. So right now, we need not worry about that, and let's hope that we get a fair test, a test where you don't have any mistakes and so on. Now, let's talk about the individual sections. So if I start with QADI, now, QADI as a section in CMAT hasn't been very, very difficult. There have been some years in the past where suddenly the difficulty has gone up a little bit higher, but it's not very, very difficult. So, those of you who have prepared for, say, a CAT, and MAT, SNAP, etc., you should be in a position to do most of the questions. What areas to focus on? I would say arithmetic definitely is the area to focus on, where you have a lot of questions coming from percentage, profit loss discount, time speed distance, time and work, etc. Another area that you can focus on, if you look at, let's say, the last couple of years, is geometry. Last year, in one of the slots, we had 4 questions from geometry, but in some slots, the number can change. Right? So it's not necessary that morning slot there were 5 questions. So the afternoon slot will also have 5 questions. Okay, so be ready for whatever be the number of questions. Don't walk in with an assumption that I'm going to get, let's say, 4 questions of algebra. Right? That may not happen. In some years, they have asked only 1 or 2 questions from a particular area. So let's say P&C, maybe you're very good at modern math. So last year in one of the slots, there were 3 questions. But it may happen that in your slot, suddenly there's only 1 question. Okay. So that is why don't walk in with a preconceived notion that, okay, this is how the number of questions are going to be. There'll be so many questions of algebra, geometry, and so on. Whatever comes your way, make sure that we try to solve those questions. Now, speaking specifically about the strategy for the next 7 days, is I'm going to take all the mocks that I have. I'm also going to look at the past CMAT papers. Right? So, those of you who are IMS students, you have the past CMAT papers in your dashboard. Please have a look at these papers. That's the best thing that you can do in the last 7 days. In addition to that, take as many mocks as possible. Now let's talk about the second area, which is the logical reasoning. And by the way, in QA DI, you don't have a lot of questions. Generally, the data interpretation questions tend to be anywhere between 2, 3, 4, 5, depending on which year you're talking about. In some years, they have asked only 3 questions. In some years, they have asked 5 questions. You have to be ready for whatever comes your way. But again, focus if you have done arithmetic properly, percentages, profit loss discount, and so on, then you don't have to worry too much about PI. You should be able to handle it. Okay. Let's move on to the next area, which is LR. Now, LR is a complete mixed bag when it comes to CMAT. So they ask all types of questions that can be asked in LR, and the number of questions could be anywhere between 1 to 2 from individual areas, which means that you can have 2 questions of series, or let's say 1 or 2 questions of series, 1 or 2 questions of clocks, calendars, you have direction sense, then you may have questions on syllogisms and so on, right? So you have to do everything. You cannot say that I am not going to do a particular area. Input output, last year at least they didn't ask input output in any of the slots. Whether they will ask again or not, we don't know. But it's better to be prepared. So even counting, right? So last year in one of the slots they asked count the number of triangles in the figure. In the other one they asked count the number of squares in the figure. So you never know what kind of questions are going to appear. It's going to be complete mixed bag. Family relations, for example, the blood relations. 1 or 2 questions can always be asked. Number of people in a row, right? So somebody is third to the right of somebody who is 17 from the left end, things like that. Then series-based questions, right? Coding, decoding questions. So practice a lot of these questions. Again, the best place to practice would be mocks that we have. ADMAT masterclasses, for those of you who are IMS students, ADMAT masterclasses is another good source to practice. If you do, I think the entire ADMAT masterclasses, that gives you enough exposure that you need for CMAT. So I would honestly think that you don't have to do more than ADMAT masterclasses to understand individual question types. And then once you take mocks, once you do past papers, past CMAT papers, that's more than sufficient. Now, verbal reasoning, so things like strengthening the argument, weakening the argument, confusion, implicit assumptions, etc., that appears also as part of the LR test. So do your critical reasoning well, that will help you to get higher score in the LR section. Which areas of quant to focus on is what NG has asked. So the highest weightage is for arithmetic. That's what we have seen, which is percentage, profit loss, time to distance, time and work, SICI, mixtures, allegations, right? Those are the topics to focus on. So arithmetic is about 6 to 7 questions out of 20, but that number can always change. So don't think that let me focus all my energy on it. Arithmetic, algebra, geometry, modern math, they ask everything. Right? But the number of questions that they ask from, say, a modern math or algebra generally are on the lower side. How to focus on GK properly. We'll talk about GK once we reach there. How to practice critical thinking. Okay, so for IMS students, again, there are multiple resources that we have. You have the topic test, you have the past CMAT papers, you have CMAT full length mocks, you have ADMAT masterclasses. So you can practice from any of this, and of course, your courseware also contains a lot of critical reasoning questions. Okay, let's move to VRC. So, good thing and good thing about VRC section is that you don't have a lot of RC. Now, some people think that it's a good thing. For some people, it may not be good thing. RCs tend to be anywhere between 2 to 5 questions. In some years, they can ask only one short RC with 2 or 3 questions, or they can ask you one long RC with about 4 to 5 questions. They can ask even 2 RCs, 2 to 3 on one of them, 2 to 3 on the other, 5 to 6 questions in total. So I would say be prepared for 2 RCs. Most likely it will be 1 RC because that is what the trend has been. But mentally be prepared for 2. The remaining questions are vocab, grammar, and then the reasoning content. So parajumbles generally. So practice parajumbles, practice vocab, practice grammar. So that is in your control. If you study all the grammar rules in the next few days, just revise it. You will be in a position where you can answer most of the grammar questions. Vocab, unfortunately, there isn't much that can be done in the last week. Okay, so don't think that suddenly your vocab will improve significantly. That would be wrong expectation. I would rather focus on the mocks, the past CMAT papers, whatever organic reading that I do, which is helping me to pick the contextual meaning of the word, rather than by hearting a lot of new words at this point of time. Even if you do, let's say, 500 words in the next 1 week, you may always get a word that you haven't done. So that is why I'll not, in the last 1 week especially, I'll not spend too much time on improving my vocabulary. I'd rather focus it on things like parajumbles, summary questions, RC questions. I will definitely do a lot of grammar rules. So that's where you should be focusing your energy on. Moving on to the GK section, more dominated by static GK than current affairs in the last few years. Close to 15 to 16 questions appear from static GK. It's a mix of India GK and international. You never know from which area they'll ask more questions. Current affairs is very, very limited. So current affairs tends to be 5 to 6. Okay, so that is what typically the number is like. Okay. Now, last year, for example, in one of the slots, there were 18 questions from static GK and there were only 2 questions from current affairs. So you can keep that as the number, but it may always change. So in some years, there are 15, 16 questions from static, 2 to 3 questions from current affairs. So you never know. Now, somebody had asked how to prepare for or what to prepare for GK. Right? See, I would say if you're an IMS student, you have the GK zone. Take as many tests as you can from that. Do pass CMAT papers. Take mocks. Because see, with GK, the problem is, again, how much will you do in the last 1 week? Right? Even if you, let's say, read newspaper every day in the last 1 week, it may not help you. You may not get anything that they're going to ask from that. So there's no point doing it in the last week. Okay, if you had asked me, let's say, 3 months back, I would have said, okay, do this, do that. But right now, no. So I will focus on current affairs rather, those 2, 3 questions that I can get because of that. If I do, let's say, the weekly bulletins that are there in the GK zone, I think that should suffice. But you never know. And there's no guarantee with GK. Every year, I've seen people come back and say that I did so many things, I read newspapers, etc. But even after that, I was not able to answer a lot of questions. Correct? So that's precisely the point of GK, that you cannot develop it in 1 week. You have to spend a lot of time, 3 months, 4 months, 6 months, to get good at GK. So I'll not spend too much energy on it right now. I'd rather do the other sections very well. All right, moving on to the last section, which is innovation and entrepreneurship. So for INE, there are, first of all, very good resources that are there on this channel itself. We had done a 5-part series last year, 5 sessions, 5 live sessions on innovation and entrepreneurship. This year, we have done 8 video series. I think we have released 4 videos out of it. The 5th video went live today, I think. So those 8 videos and the series from last year, if you go through that, we will have enough content on the business or management concept related part of the whole thing. There will be some business GK questions that they ask you, and typically those are 5 to 6 questions that we have seen, 4 to 5 generally. Not too many business GK questions, because anyway GK is a separate section. So that is why in the INE section, they don't ask you a lot of business GK. Rather, they ask you more of management concepts, innovation and entrepreneurship related concepts, and so on. So have a look at the series. I hope this will help you. There are a lot of things that we have covered here. Intrapreneur, for example. I mean, they have asked intrapreneur as a question almost every single. So if you want to have that at least one question that you can do in INE, it is the definition of the word intrapreneur or entrepreneur. So they always ask questions on that. But yes, if you go through the series, I think uh, we easily have close to about I guess 15 to 20 is what we have done in the series last year in each of the sessions. So that could be somewhere around 70, 80 questions. And this year we have done 8 videos, 15 questions in each, so 15 to 120, another 120. So almost 200 kind of questions if you combine the series from last year and this year, which is there on YouTube for all of you for free. For IMS students, you have innovation and entrepreneurship ebook that is there in your dashboard, and you also have 10 tests. Each of the tests contains 20 questions. So you have 20 into 10, another 200 questions there. So have a look at that. Okay, so we have spoken about individual sections. I hope most of the questions regarding that has been answered. Let me take any questions that you have asked in the chat room. Question from Prajwal: I have an issue with language comprehension. How do I utilize this to prepare? Okay. See, in the limited period again, because now we have 7 days, I will focus more on mock taking rather than doing too many offline RC. So let me do as much online practice as I can in the form of mocks and doing RC practice online rather than doing it offline. Regarding comprehension, the best way to improve your comprehension is to read slowly and read to derive meaning out of what you are reading as if you are going to explain it to somebody. So if you follow that methodology, you will become a better reader. Okay, so just try it out, try reading slowly rather than trying to rush through the whole thing. So read as if you're going to explain it to somebody. That is the best way to read. Okay. I think I've answered these questions. Which sessions of word power made easy should be focused on cracking vocab questions as an IMS student? So word power made easy again at this stage, as I mentioned, right, sometime back also, it's not going to help you much. Right? So I'd rather practice more of mock tests than mugging up words, because even if you do say 500 new words, you may come across something that you have not done. So in the limited period, not really. I'll do more of mocks and more of past papers, more past CMAT papers. I have the material with me. If you're an IMS student, I can go through that, do the vocab topics that are there. So that is the approach that I do. Current affairs of how many years? Current affairs of generally 6 months to 1 year is what they focus on. But as I said, major questions tend to be from static GK than current affairs. Okay. Covered the entire Lucent GK books, history, geography. Is that enough? Yeah, that should be enough. In fact, I think you've done more than what a lot of people do. How is XIME Bangalore? Vatsal, so see, what you should do is for any college, right, you should try and identify a few key parameters. Right? So what is the average placement? If you possible, speak to a few people who have graduated from that particular institute and look at the placement trend of the last 3-4 years, I would say, not only the current year or the previous year. Then I will also go to LinkedIn and try to identify who are the people who have graduated from that institute and where they are working at this point of time, which gives you a hint of how typically things work for people after they have completed their course. So that gives me a better understanding. Standalone, almost every institute has something to offer. Right? So an institute which has, say, 6 lakh average package has that to offer. Somebody with some institute with 12 lakh package has to offer that. You have to figure out whether that makes sense to you or not personally. So if you're currently somebody who doesn't have any work experience, you're a fresher, you do not have great academic record, then you, even if you have, let's say, an institute which offers 6 to 8 lakhs, I think that's a significant jump in your career. But if you're somebody who already has work experience, you're, let's say, earning 8 lakh per annum, you should be looking at colleges that are, let's say, above 12 average or above 14 average, etc., to get a higher jump. So standalone, if you ask me, and in a lot of questions, in a lot of sessions, people ask me similar questions, right? That how is a particular institute? My answer is very simply that every institute is good standalone. Only once you bring in some other institute in comparison, or you bring in your own profile into question, then the discussion makes sense. Otherwise, every institute has something or the other problem. Because uh, when you look at any institute and the placement report, you will see that there are some people who have got very good opportunities, and there are some people who are not getting good opportunities. That does not mean that the institute is bad. It's clear that economic trends also have a lot of impact on the placement. So if the economy is not doing well, the placements are not going to be good. But even with that, you have the tag, you will get the degree, which will help you in the long term. So that is how you should be looking at it. For cutoffs, please go to bschoolzone.imsindia.com. We have all the cutoffs listed there. Okay. Can we get help from for NMMS PI? Okay, so firstly, let the I think they have revoked the call letters. They have, I think, re-released them. So of course, we'll have a look at the form and everything. For IMS students, we have my plan session. So you can always book a my plan session with your mentor to discuss answers to the PI question. Okay. Roshan, I think I would suggest that you wait for some time rather than trying to just fill the form today itself. Maybe try tomorrow because there could be some technical glitches here and there. You saw what happened, right? They released the call letter, they revoked, re-released, etc. So I'll just suggest to people to maybe wait for a few more hours. What's the safe CMAT score for NIBM Pune? Okay, so it's difficult to say safe score in CMAT for two reasons. One is it depends a lot on the difficulty of the test, and two, in the CMAT scorecard, you don't get to see your score, you just get the percentile. So it's difficult unless we have the individual students reporting their raw score and then the percentile. There's no way to figure out score versus percentile. Uh, in the past, we used to say that anything above 300 plus, right, is a very good score to have a 99 point something. It could be 99.4 or 19.5 and so on and so forth. Uh, Generally, NIBM, because it is like 95 plus, etc. per CMAT, you should be aiming for somewhere around 260. So, somewhere around 260, could be plus or minus 5 or 10. But 260 is what I will go with. Scoring 320 in mocks using marks in vocab, GK, and coding questions in LR, how to push to 340. So 320, first of all, is a very good score. Now, again, as I said, with vocab, there's limited that can be done in this week. Coding, decoding questions, definitely you can practice. They, except a few questions, they're not rocket science. But if I practice enough, I'll be able to handle most of them. So have a look at the past CMAT papers, understand what kind of coding, decoding is being asked, and focus on those areas. Regarding GK, continue to do the GK zone, and that should help. Should I do revision or cover untouched topics in the last 7 days? Mitesh, you should do both, but I will take a call basis how difficult the topic is. So if I think that the topic is very, very difficult, I will spend too much time learning new concepts. Let me not get into it. But if it is a small topic, let's say a topic like clocks, right, calendars, these are very small topics, and there are always questions based on clocks calendar. So let me spend some energy on learning these. So especially clocks calendars, if anybody is there who has not done it, I would suggest that you do it right away. So it will hardly take you one day to finish all those. Which topics to focus on QA for CMAT? Arithmetic, that should be the priority. So percentage, profit loss, SICI, time speed distance, time and work. And from there on, I will focus more on algebra and geometry or modern math. Either of them, you can decide what to do. IRMA CMAT cutoff. Okay. IRMA, don't recall exactly. Plus, we have reached out to IRMA multiple times regarding cutoffs, and they have mentioned that they are not going to release any exact number on it. We believe that it is somewhere around 70 to 80 percentile, but because they are not officially announced it, there's no way to verify that. Please bring one shot for I&E. So I&E, we have been running a series. I hope people have seen the YouTube channel. Two series I would recommend. One is what we had done last year. So if you search on the channel CMAT Innovation Entrepreneurship, you should be able to find the series from last year. We had done 5 sessions, live sessions that time. And this year we have done 8 videos featuring 15 questions in each video. So that's 120 questions. What's the difficulty level of ATMA? I'm aiming for Wellington. Okay, so ATMA, it's been a while since I appeared for ATMA. In fact, been a very long time. The last ATMA that I took was 15 years back. But yes, I've seen the recent reports, etc. So ATMA sits somewhere in between SNAP and CMAT. Okay. So the difficulty is somewhere in that range. It's not very difficult, it's not very easy either, specifically because of the format of the test. So though it has the core aptitude sections only, it's still a difficult test to crack because of the sectional time limit that is there. But not very, very difficult to crack. Another thing is you don't have a lot of people taking the test, so it's easy to get a higher percentile. I scored 94.44 percentile in CMAT 24. Will I get a call from ATMA? You should, because 94 is a very good score in CMAT. And as I mentioned, though they have never released the figures, and 80 plus, I think, should be in a good position to get it. Irrespective of the cutoff, what marks should we target? See, 300 plus. I mean, if you ask me, vanilla, what should be the target out of 400? I'll say 300 plus is a very good target to keep. I'm scoring 150. How to prepare to get a score near 250? Okay, so Niharika, if you are getting around 150, right, there is clearly somewhere content gap. So your content currently is at a limited stage where you have done, let's say, only a few topics, or you have done more topics but at a easy to moderate level questions only. So what you should do is go through the past CMAT papers of the last 2 years. They are there in my IMS dashboard. Whatever questions have appeared, go to your book and study those concepts really well. So if you see, okay, there was a question from quadratic equation, go to your books, do quadratic equation topic. Right? So let me do reverse, wherein I do the coverage first for the questions that appeared in the last 2 years, and that should help you to overall increase your confidence and score in the higher level. Will JBMS accept MAT score this year? So nothing has been mentioned so far. So let's assume that they are going to do it. IRMA cutoff is 80 plus only through CMAT. Okay, in case, as I mentioned, we have reached out to IRMA multiple times, asking them for individual test-wise cutoff. They every time we ask them, they say that we are not going to release any specific cutoff. So there is no specific number. But typically 80 plus can be considered a good score. 91 percentile enough होगी जैन के लिए CMAT IRMA. Should be fine, I think, Shivam. Again, as I said, 80 plus. So anything above that, you have a shot at IRMA. Why IRMA is not taking CMAT 25? Difficult to say. I think the way these institutes decide which score they are going to accept, we're not very sure why they do these things. But anyway, maybe they were thinking initially that CMAT is going to be conducted later. So what's the point of accepting CMAT 25? But since now it is happening earlier, even after that they have not changed it. So we don't know as to why they are not taking it. But if they make any changes, of course, we can apply with 25 scores also. Cool. Any other questions? Anything else that anybody wants to ask? Otherwise, we are more or less done with the discussion. Last 1 week, focus on mock test, focus on past CMAT papers. That's going to be my advice. And the areas that have appeared in the last 2 years, go back to your books, make sure that you study those areas very, very well. Quant is not going well. Last 7 days strategy, what to do? Astha, as I mentioned, last 2 years CMAT papers, have a look at these papers. Any topic that has appeared in the paper, go back to your book, study that particular topic, do a few questions of that area. That's about it. How to boost marks overall and how to study innovation and GK in last 7 days with static GK be enough. Yeah, if you've done enough static GK, that should suffice. Regarding INE, if you're an IMS student, as I mentioned, you have the ebook that is given. It has 10 chapters. If you do not have time to go through 10 chapters, at least do the test which is there on each of the topics, 20 questions, 20 into 10, 200 questions there. And then have a look at the INE series which we ran on YouTube. MSCT or CMAT, which is easier? Good question. I would say, see, if you like GK, you will find CMAT to be easier. If you are not good at GK, you will find CET to be easier. If you ask me which one do I prefer, my preference would be CET because it's a pure aptitude test rather than being a test of your general knowledge. Right? So there is, it's a speed-based exam and there's no negative marking which works in favor for a lot of people. Considering everything, I'll say CMAT. Which masterclass for ADMAT should be focused more? See, there are 20 ADMAT masterclasses. I think you can do all 20. 7 days is enough to do all 20 because you have what 30 to 40 questions in each of the masterclass. Should we include the college icon symbol in SOP? Not required. I don't think that is needed. Not good in GK. Last 7 day strategy. Focus on mocks, pass CMAT papers, and do at least a few quizzes from the GK game. And then pray. Things work in your PC. Sometimes the GK comes out to be very difficult, so most of the people will not be able to score high. And that's okay. Right? Ultimately, it's relative assessment. Is NMIMS Pharma MBA good? KitKat, I don't know, to be honest, because see, it's a specific program. It works only for people who are interested in that sector. So for people who want to do Pharma MBA, it's a good option. But if you're asking for general public, is that a good option? The answer is no. Okay. So again, they also have the eligibility requirements. So first of all, see if you are eligible. So Kamesh, if I get an admission call from SIB in Pune after GPI, should I secure admission or go for MSCT? So see, CET is something that always depends on. I mean, if you have a very high score, then you have a shot at JBMS. If you do not have a shot at JBMS, then SIBM is obviously something that you will choose. So I will say if you get admitted to SIBM Pune, you of course accept it. You wait for CET results. After CET results, it becomes obvious whether you're going to get JB or not. Please provide some information about your experience with CET as you got JBMS through CET. Okay, so when I was a student, the process was slightly different. We used to have even group discussions and interviews as part of the process after CET. But yes, I had taken CET and the other exams as well. So I had taken CET, MAT, ATMA because we used to accept multiple tests. And I had the same percentile in CET and MAT. So finally, I got admitted to the Maharashtra seat for CET. But I had taken MAT as well to create a backup that just in case CET doesn't work out, I can at least get admitted through MAT. So I would suggest that you take multiple tests for sure. Not good at GK, okay, I've answered this one. Have they postponed CET? Yes, 1st, 2nd, 3rd April. These are the tentative dates. Is SPJAMR Global Management Program through NMAT retake? Is it worth it? It's not their flagship program. So see, that program is not for everybody. So you have to see whether it fits into your aspiration. If you think that it will do justice to it, then you can go ahead. But if you think that no, that is not going to be useful to you, you can decide not to go for it. Is SIBM Noida good? Sorry to ask question apart from CMAT. Yeah, it's okay. See, again, I would choose it on the basis of what other option I have. Right now, I would say create options for yourself. If you think that okay, the college is looking decent, there is placement record available, you can talk to a few current students or past students. Basis all of that, if you're getting some positive impression of the college, at least apply, keep it as an option. After the results come out, you will have multiple converts, then you can decide. So right now, don't reject institutes right. After CMAT, 2 months is enough for CET? Asta, yes. So 2 months would be sufficient if you do enough prep. And I think for anybody who has already prepared for NMAT, SNAP, CMAT, CAT, whatever exam, picking up CET prep is not going to be very challenging. Of course, CET is a fairly speed-based exam, so you have to work on that. But that can happen in 2 months. How about SIBM Hyderabad? Just once again, so decent college, but what are you comparing it with? So I will say that you have a look at the overall college, where does it stand, the year of inception, talk to a few current students, past students, placement record, whatever data is available public. Go through all of that. If you think that, oh, it makes sense to me, make an application. Once you have the result, you decide. But right now, don't say that, okay, just because this college is not there in top 30, 40, whatever, I will not apply to that college. That's a bad strategy. Okay, CMAT and MyCat on same date. Nothing now can be done. You have to take a call. So CMAT and MyCat, I think both hall tickets have not been announced yet. So let's see. I mean, if you turn out to be super lucky, you may have MyCat in the morning and CMAT afternoon, right? So all possibility, it may happen that you are able to take both of them. Otherwise, if there's a clash, you have to decide which one you want to take. I'm a common student, and what I benefit in MBA college. Uh, See, you learn a lot of things that you didn't get to experience in your commerce, in your undergrad program, basically. So, case study methodology, far more competitions, far more guest lectures, industry interactions. So, there's definitely a lot more value. Geometry, Mitesh, anywhere between 1 to 4 questions is what we have seen in the last 3 to 4 years. It can be as low as one, it can be as high as about 4 to 5 questions from geometry. So yes, you will have to do it. You cannot skip it in that. Does cutoff change every year for GBMS? Arbery Ping. So typically 99.9 plus for the Maharashtra state candidates. All India 99.99. In some years 99.98. So that's the range that you can work with for now. For category cutoffs, slightly difficult to say because you never know how many students will be there from individual categories. Asta, I've taken gap for CAT but not good score because of it there's gap. So now I'm prepping for CET. Should I join any internship? See, right now taking up an internship, unless it is like a fairly chilled out internship, I don't see how significantly it will help you. Unless you are expecting it to get a few calls and you're going to talk about that internship during those interviews. I can definitely take another 2 months to focus my attention on CP. But if I think that no, since I've prepared for CMAT, since I've prepared for other exams, most of the prep is done. I have to just focus on mocks. I can take up anything. And see, I would say you take up the internship because at least it takes your mind away from prep for some time. Game zone, what is the cutoff of FMS for the OBC category? There on B-School zone, see, I don't remember the exact number. So go to bschoolzone.imsindia.com, go to cutoff section, search for FMS, you'll find the information. Just one, other than JB, Sydenham, Pumba, what are good colleges for CMAT? I think you're asking through CET route, typically, or through the centralized admission process. So JBMS, Sydenham, Wellington, Pumba, which is the Pune University LBA, College of Engineering, Pune. You have SIS, you have Chetna, you have IES, I think MET, I'm not sure, I think they just have PGDM now, so that is out. But yeah, these are typically the top ones that are there. There's no interview for JB, right? No, there's no interview for the MMS program. If you apply for the MSc Finance or the MHRD programs, then there is an interview. Does the gap year really affect in future? Not much if you get a good college and you get good internship there, or yeah, I mean, let's hope that you get into some college this year. What do I strategize if cons is not my strength and left with 7 days? What should I focus on? Because I only get 5 questions right out of 20. I plan to make it 10 till max. So what should I do? Gabbar, so this is what I will do. I will go through, first of all, by tomorrow itself, all the past CMAT papers. I need not solve them as a test. I will go through all of them, identify what concepts they have asked, go back to my books and do those concepts very well. So if I see they have asked a question, let's say on time, speed, distance, two objects moving towards each other, etc. Let me go to my book and at least do that concept. So I'll do this because 4 papers which are available in your minus dashboard, 4 into 20, 80 questions are there. 80 questions will cover enough concept. You go back to your books, do those concepts, do more questions, you should be fine. After giving CMAT and CET, do we have to wait till July cap round for GBMS? Yes, cap rounds begin very late, generally June, July is when they start. The college begins in August, so you have to wait. I am unable to score in GK and IE. How should I go about it? GK, I'm not sure how much can you do in the remaining time. I mentioned it sometime back as well. I will focus on past CMAT papers and mocks for this year. That's about it. I'll do more of INE instead, which will give me better score or better returns, I would say. मेरा ग्रेजुएशन अभी कंप्लीट होने वाला है, फिफ्थ सेमेस्टर में हूँ, कैट के लिए ब्रेक लूँ या कोई कोर्स में एडमिशन ले लूँ, गैप ईयर से कोई दिक्कत तो नहीं है और क्या ध्यान रखूँ कैट ट्रिप के लिए? ओके, so since right now you're in the final year, you're taking CAT 25, you can afford to not work and take the CAT. Okay, and that will not be considered as a CAT. So आप after you graduate in June, I guess आप wait कर सकते हो. I mean, if you don't want to work, अगर job नहीं लेना है तो that's also fine. Preferred mode is that you work and take the CAT. Preferred, but it's up to you. Do I need to fill the form for GBMS MS program or else it's a cap to CMAT and CET? Okay, so cap round will be announced after CET is conducted. Right now, you can apply for CET. So please make sure that you fill the CET application and take the CET. So that's what I would suggest. You should give mocks in last week. Yes, you should definitely take mocks. So CMAT is not like CAT where you can get like way too scared about the test. Please take mocks as many as possible and definitely do pass CMAT. I scored 86 in CAT, 89 in CAT, EWS, category 777. Which college will have the best chance to convert? Pankaj, I would suggest that you have a look at the category cutoffs on the B School Zone, bschoolzone.imsindia.com. That's the link, and check out the EWS cutoffs there. They are generally very close to general cutoffs. So wherever EWS specific cutoffs are not available, you can even work with the general cutoffs that are there. Okay? And there are enough institutes that are available at that percentile. And we have given cutoffs for both CAT and ZET, so I think you can check it. All right, I think we have more or less covered everything and I've answered almost all the questions that we got. If there are any questions, then always leave it as a comment. But in the interest of time, we'll end the CMAT specific discussion today. And I hope this has helped you and you can take it forward from here. Pass from which year? Okay, I think somebody deleted the question, so great. I think we're done. Thanks everyone and wish all of you all the best. Please have a look at the innovation and entrepreneurship series from last year and from this year. I'm sure it is going to help you a lot in the final examination. Okay. Bye everyone. Take care.